Another thing that needs to be talked about. If we're going to be discussing affordable housing and the issue with rent being sky high, but we're not going to discuss the fact that jobs are not required to pay wages and salaries that reflect the cost of living and take inflation into consideration, then the conversations around affordable housing are useless. Because again, if you're still going to be making houses that are marketed at the fair market rate, most of us are not being paid fair market rate wages. Okay, and then once again, the reason why the houses are not affordable is because we're not being paid living wages. It's like we love to tiptoe around the actual problem. You know, it's like we're afraid to admit that jobs need to just pay more. Like, essentially, that's the problem. You're not paying us enough to live. I don't understand why this is some far out, you know, oh my God, why can't people afford rent? Well, it's because you're still offering $40,000 a year as a base salary like it's 2003. Like, these have not been good salaries in well over 10 plus years. And it's just ridiculous that a lot of companies and jobs and employers, they're still offering the same entry-level wages and salaries that they've been offering for over a decade. Like, with today's cost of living and with inflation in consideration, anybody making under $100,000 is going to be suffering. And I mean, granted, yes, there's a lot of individual factors and variables that come into play. So like, for example, if you're living in places like California, New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Dallas, Texas, you're going to have problems if you're making under $100,000 a year. Not to mention that your average person is making under $100,000 a year. Again, between 15 and 17% of working people in the USA make $100,000 or more per year, which means 83 to 85% of all working people make less than $100,000 a year. So how in the hell is the median average home price gonna be damn near $500,000? It's like $416,000 is the average USA medium home price. So who makes that? Most people aren't even making $50,000 a year. So again, who's going to be able to afford that house? Let alone rent that house, right? Like, we're literally paying what used to be considered rent prices to drive cars. Like, my car is $441 per month. That doesn't include car insurance. That's another $132. That doesn't include gas, maintenance. So again, you got to get licenses, you got to renew your tags, your registration, all that. None of that is taken in consideration. So again, you know, your average person is paying well over $500 a month to drive a car, $1,000 and up to rent a place to live. You know, groceries. Let's not even talk about that. You got renter's insurance, you got homeowner's insurance, you got health insurance, you got kids, you got dependents. You know, you've got utilities. You know, I mean, it's like, I don't understand where they think we're going to be able to afford any of the stuff And then they want you to start families on with what, with who, and on what salary. And where at. Because between climate change and mass shootings, I don't really see how you want to be bringing in human life. Then you might have World War III going on. So, like, I'm just trying to understand, like, where do you think any of us are going to be, like, we're literally living in a Black Mirror Netflix episode at this point.